I'd just like to thank the Bangor Missionary Convention Committee for the opportunity to share the Wakisa ministry story of what God can do when He takes control. Wakisa means merciful in Ugandan. So if you're struggling with Wakisa with two A's, it just means merciful. I said this morning, a verse has been important to us from Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. As we began the process, the work of Wakisa, and sought God's direction, this verse became an inspiration of what we sought to do. And you know, the theme of the convention this year is very relevant because Wakisa, we seek to reach people and give them hope on a future. We seek to change lives. So where do we work? Well, we work in Africa, in a country called Uganda, which is just where you see the blue arrow on the screen. And we work in Uganda. Uganda is a bigger country than you think. When I first went to Uganda, there were less than 20 million people. In July this year, it's just under 50 million people. The life expectancy in Uganda for a man is 50, and for a woman, 52. But it also has the second youngest population in Africa. It's a very young population. And in Uganda, a baby is born every 18 seconds. So where do we work? Well, we work in a place called Kitale, which is between Entebbe and Kampala. Now, to give you an idea, on a good day on the roads, an hour and a half will take you from our centre into Kampala. On a normal day with the traffic that's there, it could take anywhere between 4 and 5 hours. So what do? Well, we have a board here, and you can see them on the screen. Sharon, who's the small lady in the front, and Sharon's with us this evening. She's sitting down here. She's with us. Sharon lives in Australia, and she's come home for tonight. The lady next to her is Valerie. Now, anybody that knows Valerie, she's someone special. Valerie is 80 years of old. And the one thing Valerie doesn't know is the word no. So if Valerie asks you for something, you might as well just do it, because she doesn't give up. And then Joyce is on our board now, and myself, and we are the board of Uganda, for Uganda here. So how did the work start? Well, Valerie, Sharon, and I had been out 2 different teams in Uganda. We were doing different work, but we were made aware that there was a huge number of young girls on the streets who had been abused. Many of them had been rejected by their families and their communities. They were blamed for something that was not their fault. Many of them were pregnant and nowhere to go. They had no hope. So we came back and we thought we would try and do something to help some of them. So our thought was we'll try and get a little place where we can help 6 to 10 girls. This is the place that we had. When we first got it, it didn't look like that. It has a dirt floor inside. There's not a lot of windows. It wasn't painted. The roof leaked, but that's what we started with. So that's what we started, but God had other ideas. So very shortly after that, we thought, we'll get a piece of land and we'll build a better centre for them. This is what the site looked like when we first got there. The problem with that was we didn't have the money for a site, but we thought we'd get it anyway. So we came home and we were telling people about what we were trying to do. And without asking for any money, the site cost £10,000. And then shortly over 3 weeks, that's exactly what we got. God provided the start. He provided the land. Over the last 20 years, the work has grown. And this is our current centre in Uganda. we found that if you follow God's faithfulness, He'll provide. And as I said this morning, as Hudson Taylor said, God's work done God's way never lacks provision. These are just some of the buildings that we have. The building on the left, as you look at it, is our Pregnancy Crisis Centre, the first building that we had. Below it is our administration block and a training centre. Then we have our guest house that we have, which will sleep up to 14 people. We're very blessed because as work developed and we were teaching the girls, we built a state-of-the-art hairdressing centre for them and a craft shop. That was opened literally just as COVID hit. Unfortunately, at that time, we went into lockdown, just like the rest of the world, and our centre was completely closed. The girls were still there, and our staff stayed in the centre. But we had never had any support from the government in Uganda. But one day, this 4x4 came up to our gates with 4 very large African men in it, and someone had accused us of breaking the curfew. But Esther, our site manager, she invited them in, and they saw around the centre, and they left. A few days later, a lorry arrived. In the lorry was orange juice, maize flour, milk powder, and other food. A full lorry of food was sent during COVID. Did the Ugandans send it, or did God send it to help us? Wakiso has a trained staff, and this is our staff. We have 18 full-time staff. They're a trained multidisciplinary staff team who are all Christian. Because our vision is not that we do for them, but we help them to do it for themselves. And so we're very fortunate that we have this trained staff. But what about the girls and the babies? Well, since we started the work, Sharon and I were just counting at tea time tonight, probably over 2,000 girls have gone through our centre. That means over 2,000 babies have been born. And a minister in Uganda where we met said, do you realize that if this work didn't exist, most of those babies wouldn't be alive? So again, God had the vision, He had the plan, but we didn't realize it when we started. So here are just some photographs of the babies that's been recently. And you can see some here. I should say, and I told this on Sunday to church, some ladies here knit little jumpers and cardigans and hats for the babies. Now the temperature, we're on the equator, so the temperature can be quite high. But when the girls get it, they insist on putting on the hats, the jumpers, and even the blankets on the babies. You know, the Bible says that all these children are called by name and they're God's, as it says in Isaiah. And that's what we believe. These children are all God's creation. All of them are unique and special. So, what about the girls that we have in the centre? Well, these are just some of them. The average age of the girls we've had, the youngest is 11 years of age, and she was pregnant. Many of the girls in our centre have faced many challenges in their young lives. But when they come to the centre, they find a place of peace, and they find somewhere where they're cared for. These are just some more photographs of the girls. The ones you see in this photograph were just last week. And the babies that you see there have all been born in the last 3 weeks. But in Uganda, it's not just about caring for the girls. We want to share God's word with them. And every girl that comes to the centre is given a Bible in their own language. But the girls have a choice. We have morning and evening devotions at the centre. They are not forced to come. It's up to them if they come. But most do. But in the centre, they experience God's love in action, not just in words. many of them find that God loves them and that someone loves them for the first time. And it opens doors where we can witness and talk to them and just share the gospel with them. But when they get a Bible, all of us, we talked about Book 8 there, have many Bibles in our house. When our girls get this, they treasure it. Girls have come back to the centre after they've left, and their Bible comes wrapped in newspaper because they care for it. It's so special to them. And it's not just that it's wrapped up. They have used it from what they've learned, and they just love to share it. And it means God's word goes out from the girls when we get them back into their communities. They again share God's love there. Our theme was about lives changed, and that's what our work's been about. So it's not just about having safe delivery for the babies. It's of giving the girls hope and a future, about changing their lives. So at the centre we train them, and they train in 3 things: hairdressing, sewing, dressmaking, and cookery. Now, for you ladies, getting your hair done in Uganda is not like here. If they get their hair done, it takes about 6 hours. Thankfully, I don't have that problem. We also teach them in sewing, and this is one of our girls who had her little business. This one shows one of the girls with her machine, and they're Singer sewing machines, but they're not electric. They're pedal machines. Because no point in giving a girl an electric machine. What's she going to do with it? So after they've received their training, when they leave the centre, we try to equip them with the materials they need to have a business. They get the sewing machine, they get materials. The hairdressing people, they get their hair dryers and the equipment that they need to do a little business. And what does that do? It gives them hope in the future. It gives them a means of caring for themselves, their children, and many times for maybe a grandparent who's taken them back into the community. It cares for them all. This is just a photograph of some of the girls. Sharon's down the back, and she taught them patchworking, and they all made a little blanket for their babies. The youngest girl in that photograph is 12. But we have one girl who through the years has been very special to us. Her name is Evelyn, and this is from photographs of Evelyn. The bottom photograph of the 2 you see is Evelyn just as she came to the centre. The one above is her with her little son, Alpha. And the next one is a later picture of her, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But when I spoke to Evelyn last week, she sent me a little video of her story. She talks very softly, so please listen very carefully.
Hello, my name is Nakate Evelyn, a former beneficiary of Wamusa Youth Center. Before I joined the center, I was very shy, timid, and a desperate teenage girl who had no hope for the future. I was really happy when I was admitted in the center because I felt welcome by the staff present at that time. I gave birth to my baby boy in November 28, 2006, and I named him Alpha Daniel Muwamzi, means a winner. I received training in tailoring and later specialized in bridal wear. I have really progressed with the help of God. I now own a workshop, Ipsam House of Fashions, where I make wedding gowns, changing dresses, men's clothes, and casual wear. Among others, my boy is now in senior 3 at a local school within the area. I'm married to a wonderful husband called Samuel. I would like to take this moment to thank the founders, the donors, and the well-wishers for the support and prayers towards the center. Your endless work for the Lord is never in vain. Thank you all. God bless you.
It's Evelyn telling her own story. But Evelyn has been an inspiration to many. And this was highlighted when, just a couple of years ago, the local media and press came to tell Evelyn's story. a girl who came from the slums. She didn't know who her father was. At an early age, her mother couldn't afford to send her to school. Her circumstances became very difficult when, with abuse, she became pregnant. Her mother couldn't look after her and the baby, so she ended up with no hope. But she came to the centre, a very scared girl. But the change in her life in a few years was huge. She was able to sew. She learned to use the sewing machine. And we realized that this girl had skills. So we helped her and we put her through different courses like NVQ level here. And eventually, Evelyn, as she said, started her own business. And these are just some of the dresses and wedding dresses that she makes. You know, Evelyn, as I said, continues to inspire the girls at the centre. You know, she's actually involved in providing training now for the girls at the centre. Not only that, she employs some of our girls that have trained in her little workshop. But she still gives up of her time to come to the centre and help to train the new girls. But our work progressed, and with the children coming through, we thought, maybe we need to start a nursery school. There was a need for Christian education for these little ones. And today, we have up to 60 children in the nursery school. These are just some photographs of them. Now, I should tell you that the different colored T-shirts that they have always make me laugh because they did this at the centre. The yellow T-shirts have my name on the back. The blue ones have Sharon's name on the back. And the green ones have Valerie's, or as they call her, Jaja. But the children love to learn. This is just one of the classes at the school that you can see. But they love stories. Sorry, it's gone too far. They love stories, and they love to play. And this is just them in a little playground that they have. As well as that, we do work in post-primary schools. And this is Nancy, and Nancy is qualified, and she's a qualified counsellor in health education. So what she does is she goes to the schools, and an average class that she's going to in these secondary schools is anywhere from 100 to 250 in one class. And what we teach them is loving and living God's way. And what has happened since that work started, that secondary schools actually ask us to come to speak to their children. Local churches are now doing the same. But that's not all Nancy's work, because she also comes to the centre and she's able to help to counsel the girls and help them through the difficulties that they had at the centre. Always smiling, as you see in that photograph. This is what some of the classrooms in the schools are like. In that class there's, I'm told, over 200 children in that one class. But our work continued to develop. And we decided we needed a new primary school. There's no Christian primary school where we are. So last February 2023, we've been thinking about this, and we were thinking about maybe 4 or 5 classrooms. So we went out to Uganda and we're meeting with our board in Uganda. And we had got inquiries from the local community because the children can come into our nursery. And they wanted a primary school. So we got in touch with an architect and a civil engineer, and we started to draw up plans. And this is what happened. This is the primary school that's being built. The foundations for this started to be dug in September past. On Friday, we're putting the roof on. It's not our work. This is what God had planned, because we would never have thought of this. It's just some photographs of the school. So there's the building at 5 o'clock last Friday. I want to tell you a story about one man who's been a friend of mine for well over 30 years in Uganda. His name is Godfrey. Godfrey, as a young child, his father sent him for an apprenticeship. But it was an apprenticeship to be a witch doctor. So for 7 years, he was trained to be a witch doctor. We don't think about those things in Northern Ireland. But in his early adult life, Godfrey got converted and became a Christian. And a lovely man. As a trade, he was a welder. And the welder he had, if you went near it, you'd have got an electric shock. So we bought him a welder. Now that's 25, 26 years ago. Godfrey called up to the centre just recently, just to visit us, and said, "Who's making the windows?" And we said, "Well, we'd have to put it out to get it priced." And he said, "No, you buy the materials. I'll make the windows." Today, I had an email from them. All but one window are now installed. He made every window and every door. So God has been before us through the work. It's not our plans, as I said, it's God's plan. And as I said previously, God is a faithful God, and God's work done his way doesn't lack provision. We have never appealed for money, but God's always provided. To build the school, did we have the money? No. But God's provided our need, not our wants. He's provided our need. As I said before, the verse has been an inspiration to us and everyone who's been involved with Rokisa Ministries. And I pray it'll be an inspiration to you all as well, because God knows the plans he has for you. You just have to open your mind and your heart and listen to what God's saying. In conclusion, the girls sent me this little video on Friday. They made this song especially for tonight. I didn't ask them, they sent it. So if you can join in with them, feel free.